Stocks trade soft but ranged after Trump imposes 25% tariff on India, higher than most trading peers. Healthcare and oil and gas are the big drags, while FMCG eke out gains.
Sunfarma takes a beating on concerns that after Trump's directives to 17 global pharma names to make drugs more affordable, the company's innovative portfolio may be targeted. This basket accounts for 20% of Sunfarma's sales.
Swiggy's quick commerce losses mount even as food delivery profit expands. The digital platform calls this the peak of Q-com losses, drawing buy calls from analysts, but the stock slips on profit-taking.
Girish Kosgi, the managing director of PNB Housing Finance, quits much ahead of its term ending. Worries over the lender meeting its set targets now spooks the stock following key exits. PNB says that his resignation is only due to family commitments. Good afternoon. You're with us here on Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Hormas Fatakia. With me, as always, is Mamakshi Dhuria. Mamakshi, good afternoon. We're finally coming to the end of what has been an absolutely crazy week, if you could call it that. And it looks like it's going to be a fifth straight weekly loss for the index.
Well, absolutely, Hormas. At least the bulls will be saying, thank God it's Friday, because you cannot trade for 2 more days and the markets cannot fall for 2 more days because it's the weekend. It's been an absolutely, bad week for the bulls, if you can call it that. The Nifty for now is trading close to the day's lowest point, down almost 125 basis points. The Midcap end of the market is also taking a very sharp knock today. It's down almost 0.7%, and that is reflected in the advanced decline ratio, which has been broadening since the get-go. But lots of stocks that are reacting to their numbers. Take a look at Indegene. That stock is up almost 6% today. Chalet Hotels earlier in the day was up almost 17%, but it has now cooled off. It's trading close to the 950 odd mark. It's still trading in the green with a gain of almost 4%. But what's not doing too well is the Pharma pack. Take a look at all of these counters. Sunfarma is down almost 4%. Aurobindo Pharma is down almost 4.5%. And, that comes after Trump has directed pharma companies on cutting the drug prices under the most favored nation order. So, pharma stocks under pressure as of now, Hormas.
Indeed, and there are a lot of other earnings reactions as well, right? Barring pharma names, a couple that I wanted to highlight. Adani Power is one of them, just came out with numbers. The board also has approved a 1:5 stock split. So Adani Power, the stock is now at the lowest point of the day, 2.25% lower, and the other one is Godrej Properties. That came out with numbers. They've managed to, on the guidance front at least, they have managed to achieve 21% of their launch value, 22% of their booking value, and 17% of their customer collections for the full financial year when it comes to the guidance. But the fact that the company reported an EBITDA loss this time around, and the stock is down 1.5%. So we are still counting down to some other major numbers from ITC, from Tata Power. So keep an eye out on those names as well. MCX is the other one that you need to keep an eye out for. Numbers to be out later in the day. But going to the top story of the day, and the tariff deadline has now arrived, with US President Donald Trump signing an executive order that modified reciprocal tariffs on several countries, with updated duties ranging from 10% to as high as 41%. Now, the Trump administration has stuck to the 25% tariff on India, making it the highest in this region. However, the quote-unquote additional penalties which Trump had threatened to impose on India for doing business with Russia still remain unclear. The modifications shall be effective with respect to goods entered for consumption or withdrawn from warehouse for consumption on or after 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that is 7 days after the order has been signed. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that almost 200 countries have reached out to the trade and tariff teams, and added that countries which do not have a deal will hear from the administration by midnight. Listen.
So yes, tomorrow, August 1st, the reciprocal rates will be going into effect. If more deals are cut between now and midnight, I will never count out the president. You've seen him do it before. He cut 3 deals in 1 day very recently. So we'll see what happens. I do know foreign leaders are ringing his phone, realizing this deadline is a real thing for them tomorrow, and they're bringing offers to the table. Well, there's a lot of countries that I know have reached out. I believe it's upwards of 200 countries around the world have reached out to the trade and tariff team. Of course, as I said previously, and the president said, we're going to prioritize our key trading partners, which we have done, like I said, of the 18, 2/3 of those we have cut these tailor-made deals with. But I do know that the trade team has been working around the clock to try to be in correspondence with as many countries as possible. But if they haven't heard from us yet, they will in the form of a letter or an executive order by midnight tonight.
Well, Parikshit joins us now with more details on the tariff-related announcements. Parikshit, take it away.
Well, the White House has announced reciprocal tariffs, and India has got a 25% tariff as expected. Now, this is the highest in South Asia. Let's look at some of the other countries. Afghanistan has got a 15% tariff. There's a 19% tariff on Pakistan, Cambodia, Thailand. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka have been hit with a 20% tariff. So this makes India the highest tariff region in Southeast Asia. The August 1st tariffs, we were told by the White House, will be implemented from the 7th of August. The White House spokesperson told CNBC-TV18 that this is not to be seen as an extension of the tariff deadline, but only time given to the Customs and Border Protection in the United States to implement these tariffs effectively. Similarly, the exceptions that were there on the 2nd of April, that is on pharmaceuticals, on semiconductors, on lumber, critical mineral, energy and energy products, all of those exemptions to continue. Exemptions for sectoral tariffs, such as steel and aluminum, which are as high as 50%, sectoral tariffs on auto, which are as high as 25%, those sectoral tariffs continue and are exempted from these latest tariffs. So, which means that it doesn't mean that autos will become 25 plus 25 and aluminum and steel will become 50 plus 25. They will remain as it is. No additional penalty for India as yet. This could be decided in the next few days, and that's why India is in a wait or watch mode. The US has made it very clear, and Marco Rubio said this to Fox News last evening, that India's purchase of Russian oil, despite there being so many alternate sources of energy, is an irritant in talks. And both Scott Bessent and President Trump have been indicating that they are frustrated with India with the pace of the negotiations.
Thank you for those updates. And moving on to the pharma space, which was the other big announcement overnight, Caroline Levitt also added that Donald Trump has written letters to big pharma companies to provide most favored pricing for American consumers. Listening to what she had to say before we get Ekta in on this.
The president signed an executive order earlier this year to solve the problem of exorbitant pharmaceutical pricing. According to recent data, the prices that Americans have been paying for brand name drugs are more than 3 times the price other similarly developed nations pay. The president is determined to solve this problem and took further action today. He has signed 17 letters to pharmaceutical companies' CEOs. Moving forward, the only thing I will accept from drug manufacturers is a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from the vastly inflated drug prices and an end to the free ride of American innovation by European and other developed nations.
Well, let's put the spotlight on Sunfarma because that stock has taken a beating on concerns that after Trump's directive to 17 global pharma names to make drugs more affordable, the company's innovative portfolio may be targeted. We now have Ekta joining us with all of those details. Ekta?
Well, yes, pharma stocks are in focus today as US President Donald Trump has sent letters to 17 major global pharmaceutical companies, including the likes of Eli Lilly, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Novo Nordisk, strongly urging them to reduce the US branded drug prices and align it with those charged in other regulated markets such as, for example, Europe. While there is no immediate impact on generics, analysts warn that the long-term addressable market for generic drug makers could possibly shrink. This, coupled with already existing issues such as pricing pressure, could pressure the generic drug market in the US and possibly even result in rejigging long-term plans such as, for example, in licensing deals. For Sunfarma, besides earnings, which I will just get to, the spotlight is also on its global innovative medicines portfolio, which includes branded drugs such as Ilumya, Sequoia, Lexelvi and Winlevi. This segment, which accounts for nearly 20% of its total revenue and grew nearly 17% year-on-year in the fourth quarter to $311 million, while the company has not heard from the US administration Analysts point out that any move to cut US branded drug prices could possibly result in the company reducing their specialty drug prices as well. And when it comes to earnings, the company has also flagged that its effective tax rate will normalize to 25% from 16% earlier. This has resulted in a few EPS downgrades, with some analysts cutting their FY 26-28 core EPS estimates by anywhere between 8 to even 13%, but most of them have maintained their rating on the stock. Adding to the uncertainty on pharma, while pharma is currently exempt from tariffs, the pharma imports into the US are being reviewed under Section 232, which is a national security provision typically used to evaluate whether certain imports pose a threat to the US interests or not. Analysts believe it is a medium-term overhang, and any adverse finding under Section 232 could have major implications for Indian drug makers. India, remember, exported $11 billion worth of pharmaceuticals to the US in FY 25, accounting for 35% of total pharma exports and nearly 47% of all prescriptions filled in the US in 2022.
Indeed, pharma names taking it on the chin today, and Sunfarma in particular, that is the top nifty loser. We also spoke to the company's CFO, Jayashree Sadgopan, about the impact of these letters written by Donald Trump to pharma companies to provide the most favored pricing for American consumers. Listen in.
As of now, we have not received any letters, and as and when there is a further development, we will be in a position to assess it for our specialty portfolio. As and when we get the letters from the US administration, this could have an impact on some of our specialty products. At this point in time, the investigations under 232 is going on. Post that, we will get to know what is the thinking around the tariffs for the pharma sector. So we'll have to wait and watch on this front. And as far as the generics are concerned, we also need to consider the supply chain, the economic considerations of manufacturing in India versus US. All of these will be looked into on a case-to-case basis as and when. We do have 3 facilities in the US, and at this point in time, we are not considering expanding the facilities further.
Well, that was the CFO of Sunfarma highlighting that they do not have a letter from the US administration yet, but if that could come into place, they could see a hit on their specialty products. But take a short break, then we'll get you more news and updates on the other side, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Well, let's put the spotlight on the casualty of the day. PNB Housing is the stock that I'm talking about. The stock is down and out in trade today as the company's MD and CEO has resigned. Earlier, in fact, we spoke to the CEO of PNB, Ashok Chandra, about Girish Kousgi's exit from PNB Housing. Let's listen into that conversation.
Nothing from the promoter side, nothing from any other shareholder side. In fact, he has some family commitments at Bangalore, and that is the only reason for which he has put up his paper. Otherwise, nothing to be seen other than this now, in this particular case now. See, as a promoter, I can only tell that we don't see any challenge in this. This is the personal reason he has cited, and he is moving to Bangalore. I think PNB, the HFL, this board also, they are going to have some investor meet today, and they will clarify all those issues. But we don't see any big challenge, anything happening.
Well, that was PNB Housing Finance, the promoter of PNB Housing Finance, that is PNB, and clarifying about the issues there at the company and saying that there is no such issue currently and it was only personal commitments is why Girish Kousgi has quit. But it is that time of the month, it is the first day of the new month, and on expected lines, we are getting a slew of auto sales data coming in from various companies. Sudarshan is here to summarize all of those companies that have reported results so far. Sudarshan, how do the sales figures look like?
So far all the companies which have reported sales for the month of July, sales are looking largely in line or slightly better than estimates. So we'll start with two-wheeler companies. Bajaj Auto has reported earnings in which domestic sales remain under pressure while exports continue to do very well. Total sales here were up 3%, but if you look at the segment-wise, domestic sales were down 13%, but exports have seen an increase of 30%. That's the reason when stock is slightly higher. Coming to Asha Motors, total sales continue to do well, have seen a jump of almost 30%. And here also it's led by export segment, which has seen a growth of 95%. But for Asha Motors, the contribution of export segments is very low. Here, domestic segment has not done that great, but largely in line with estimates. For M&M, SUV continues to do well and led by SUVs, which has seen a growth of 27%. Total sales have increased of almost 20%. In the tractor segment, total sales have come in slightly below estimates, but it was largely in line, or say it has also seen a growth. For Escorts Kubota, it has seen a muted growth of just 2%. Coming to last, Ashok Leyland, sales were much better than estimate. Total sales have increased by 8%, which was led by MHCV segment. That has seen a growth of 13%. And in the bus and truck segment, bus segment continues to do very well, and that segment has seen a growth of 42%, and truck sales have seen a growth of just 4%. So overall, so far, sales have largely been in line or slightly better than estimates.
Well, thanks so much for that, Sudarshan. That's the whole roundup of all the auto numbers that have come so far during the day. But moving on then, hospitals like Max and Apollo won't be able to compete with PB Health. That's the word coming in from Yashish Dahiya, the chairman and group CEO of PB Fintech. Listen in to the excerpts of the exclusive conversation as Shireen Bhan quizzes him on PB Healthcare and PB Fintech's growth roadmaps.
You have to understand, I changed the incentive. I did not become a better seller. I changed the incentive so that I was no longer in competition. That's what I'm doing here. I'm changing the incentive structure altogether. So nobody is competing with me.
Yeah, so you're not up against the Max and the Fortises of the world.
How will they compete with me when I start reducing the incidence rate? They don't want to do it. Because I know where we are headed, and it's a very good future from a market's perspective. But there's no point saying it, because it'll take time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live that time saying, I say things. What did I say? We will make 1,000 crores of profit in 27. We'll do that. What am I now saying? We'll do 1 lakh crores of insurance premium in 2030. So I say things. I say things which I'm okay to have an argument about. If I have my customers whom I say that, listen, you'll have a walk-in, walk-out experience at hospital, at any claim, right? People should be willing to take that. I think 4 years is 1 lakh crores of insurance premium.
Okay.
That puts you at a pretty large scale, right? And I think we'll be growing from then on also. We'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
So this 40-50% growth rate, you think is sustainable?
I just said 1 lakh crores premium. Do the math. Last year we were at 23,000 crores. From that time we have 5 years. So all I'm saying is we are quadrupling in 5 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty average for us, right? I think the real issue I would say is when we do that, we will be the solution, not the problem. So you can be the problem by becoming large because you're causing more and more difficulty for the consumers, for your industry, for the social security in the country. We will be the solution, not the problem. When I look at 15 years, I think we'd be a very, very large player in social security, healthcare, pensions, life insurance, and child education.
Yashish Dahiya of PB Fintech. Take a short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, the Election Commission has announced the schedule for the election of the next Vice President of India. As per the Election Commission schedule, the last date for nominations is the 21st of August, while the date for polling is the 9th of September. Now, the votes will be counted on the same day as the polling takes place.
As international criticism grows over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff meets Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try and get more aid into Gaza. NBC's Matt Bradley is here with more details.
In the midst of growing criticism of Israel over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, President Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. President Trump has described some conditions in Gaza as starvation.
Those are kids that are starving. They got to get them food, and we're going to get them food.
While the president calling out Hamas, posting the fastest way to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. The U.S. and Israel blame Hamas for blocking a ceasefire deal. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says the death toll from hunger in Gaza has risen to nearly 160 people, more than half of them children. Since Sunday, Israel has been allowing more aid drops from the air, hundreds of desperate Gazans carrying away sacks of food.
What we're seeing here is a crime scene.
These American doctors in Gaza warn for the most vulnerable, help may be too late, inviting Witkoff to visit their hospital when he comes to Gaza tomorrow.
It's not unusual to see 5-7-year-old children just pass out and to be disoriented from lack of food.
And for the first time today, several Arab and Muslim countries issued a joint call for Hamas to disarm and relinquish power in Gaza.
With that, we call time on this edition of Business Lunch. We leave you with the market seeing some recovery from the lows of the day. From Ramakshi and me, thank you for watching. Midcap Radar on the other side.